and this is Mr. E, or also known as the bearded music teacher for this podcast. And this is episode 6, I want to say, of the rock history stuff that I have come up with for my students. So if you're listening to this and you're not one of my students in my classroom, that's okay. Don't turn it off. Go ahead and give it a listen. Also, follow me on Twitter at MR underscore E underscore music FCS. That gives you the professional Twitter account that I have where I post things, share things, talk about things, share music facts, things like that. So today what we are going to do is we are going to look at the idea of Fats Domino, and this is just strictly devoted. This episode is strictly devoted to Fats Domino. I feel like he is one of the better players. I think, at least as an introduction to rock music. A lot of people don't think when you hear him, they're like, "That's not rock music. It's R&B." Well, yeah, it's got that lazy kind of feeling. So he was one of the first early rock and rollers, or rock first wave of rock artists that consistently crossed over. Fats Domino was Anton. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I always call him Fats Domino. Um, Anton Domino, and he recorded in New Orleans, for the West Coast independent label Imperial. Now, how did that work out? Well, what happened was he would record it, and then that record label was responsible for pushing his music out. Now, here are some ones that he's known for. So, the Fat Man, which was in 1950. So this is before the first wave of rock, and that hit at 6 on the R&B charts. So if you're watching the video of this, remember my podcast also can be found on my YouTube channel. On the slide deck, I have R6. R means R&B. C means country, and P means pop. So, and that's actually the abbreviation that I got from uh, the professor up at University of Rochester, Eastman School of Music. I believe he's a doctor, John Kovach. He wrote a great book and continues to write great stuff. I think it's called "What Is That Sound." I read it front to back, and I have taken both his Coursera courses actually that you could take for free, and I'm currently taking other ones. But he's great. He's a great guy with this stuff. He also, so Fats Domino, the Fat Man, was in 1950. Going Home hit number 1 on the R&B charts in 1952. Then Something Wrong was number 6 in 1953. And then Ain't That a Shame is one of the ones that I personally like. Um, it it's a great song. I feel that he really hit his stride in rock, and it's really nice that you have a 12 bar blues pattern. And I go through, before we even get to this point, I look at the 12 bar blues with my students and show them the structure that is the typical, quote, typical classic 12 bar blues. But Ain't That a Shame crossed over um, from the R&B charts into the pop charts and went to number 10 on the pop chart in 1955. Then Blueberry Hill is also a great one. That was in 56, and that was on the R&B charts at number 1, pop charts at number 2. I'm Walkin' is or was on the R&B charts at number 1, pop charts on number 4, and that was in 1957. And he was known to play the guitar. I'm sorry, not the guitar, the piano. And he would imitate the guitar. That's what I mean to say. He would play the piano in these da 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 da, that kind of sound, but it wasn't like you would see as like a showboating kind of. When I hear that rhythm, I think of, oh, it's like a musical Broadway. Hey, It's not that. It's the way he does that mixed with the arpeggios, the bum 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 bum, kind of the strumming idea, picking kind of thing that he does with that really imitates the guitar um, sound. So let's dive into who Fats was. He has had more gold discs before his biggest hit in 1956 than after. All right. That's something that we need to be aware of, is that he was even more successful when it came to gold discs before he even hit his biggest hit in 56 with Blueberry Hill. Blueberry Hill is a great one. He actually um, was on a Super Bowl halftime show where he performed Blueberry Hill. It's a great, great, great song. But what people don't realize is that Fats started working um, as a dollar for $1.50 as a lawn cutter in New Orleans. He lived in New Orleans. He was one of 9 children, and he used to practice on an old upright piano. He was great at that. There was numerous interviews later on in his life where he was like, "Oh yeah, this song," and he would just play it. He would just absolutely play it. But what ended up happening, which was we almost didn't have Fats Domino. We almost didn't have Fats Domino because when he was younger at work, he got his hand caught in a machine, and it just damaged his hand pretty well. And the doctor advised him at the time that he would have to amputate it. So it's something that we need to have back in our mind. Like the doctor was like, "No, look, you no," and he actually overcame that. He still when before he died, because I believe I believe he passed away fairly recently, actually. Recent, I mean, like within the 2000s, if I remember correctly. He went through a bunch of different recovery and exercises, really worked at it and worked and worked and worked, and he was able to get back to where he was. But he married his childhood sweetheart, Rosemary, and um, they had a very, very great relationship for everything that I could find. Um, and when Fats met David Bartholomew at Imperial, they became friends. So it just so happened that he he was playing at local establishments. Fats was playing at local establishments, and he played at a local group, a local place for a time until news of his near sensational act reached Lou Chubb. He was the president of Imperial Records, and Lou was very impressed with who he was, how he sounded. So that's where Dave Bartholomew comes in. He actually went out there and met him and things like that. Met Fats. Now Dave actually helped Fats pen many of his numbers and arranged the discs together. They churned out some of the hits that I already mentioned. Going Home, You Said You Loved Me, Please Don't Leave Me, Going to the River, all in 1953. So not a lot of people think of those as Fats Domino like big hits, but those are some good songs right there. So if you can get a hold of those, again, that's Going Home, uh, You Said You Loved Me, and Please Don't Leave Me. Going to the River is not that bad too, in my opinion. But then he put it all together and got Blueberry Hill, and I've Lived My Life, a whole lot of loving, Love Me, All by Myself, Can't Go On. There's a bunch of other ones that were arranged with this this partnership, if you will. Now, um, when Ain't That a Shame, which was also a hit for Pat Boone, I need to make you guys aware of that. When that came out, you also have I'm in Love Again, Blue Monday. Those were the big ones, and he hit big in Britain, and that's where it got really, really great for him. So when he started to slip in the United States, his discs didn't sell a million. Some didn't even make the charts later on in his career. And same applied to Britain until "I'm Ready" made the states, and Margie in Britain. Those are two songs that kind of reestablished him. Um, and then he went on for other ones that he would go on and have a little bit of a slight renewal. But he took advantage of that, and that's where we got "It Keeps Raining" and "Walking to New Orleans." "Don't Come Knocking," "Let the Four Winds Blow," "Three Nights a Week," and "Jambalaya." The one that stands out in that is "Walking to New Orleans." That's another one that kind of is very similar, and I used to do this with some students, is where we would actually do three songs back to back of Fats Domino, and you can usually hear the blues in that really well. So if you want to get a good idea on Fats playing and want to get a good idea on what that sounds like, I would highly recommend doing um, uh, a "Walk into New Orleans," followed by "Blueberry Hill," and then "Ain't That a Shame." Now you can substitute "I'm Walking" in there if you want "Ain't That a Shame" or "I'm Walking." Those two um, go really well together. But he already sold 55 million discs, which is something that uh, was really astonishing. Now, what was interesting about toward the end of his career is he was awarded a pretty prestigious medal, and right now the name it eludes me. I don't have it on my notes here, but he was awarded a a presidential medal, and they had it in his home, which is now, I think it might be a museum. I believe, I know you can at least go down there and stand in front of the house um, in Louisiana and or New Orleans. So what you can do is, I would Google search this actually. Just type in "Fats Domino House" or "Fats Domino Home," and you'll find the address. Um, so when Hurricane Katrina hit, that medal was lost. That award was lost, and I want to say it was former President George W. Bush who then reissued that medal. And George W. Bush, if I'm not mistaken, as well, was very fond of Fats Domino's music. So Fats Domino did a lot. He did a lot of philanthropy in the community. He really, really, really loved the New Orleans community, and he would constantly give back to the community of New Orleans because he really, really loved it down there. So that was just a short little episode. In my class, what I do is I usually just pull out that "Ain't That a Shame" and we listen to it. And of course, now the video is unavailable. So I'm going to have to find another version of that, or at least another copy of it. Because a lot of times what I do is I just show links to a YouTube video that I can find of "Ain't That a Shame." So I think that was now pulled. So we will end it there. Again, Fats Domino, "Ain't That a Shame" is a big one. Blueberry Hill, "The Fat Man." Go ahead and check him out. Listen to the way he plays the piano. All right, it's different from where we'll talk later about Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, who have a very bombastic, punchy sound. Fats Domino is kind of like the laid back, cool guy that just sings the blues mixed with just that nice, cool sound. All right, guys, that is it. We will end it there. Make sure you continue to follow this podcast, share it with your friends. If you don't like it, then I'm sorry, but that's the way I do it. This is for educational purposes, anyways. And make sure you check out my Twitter, like I said at the beginning of this episode. Thank you, and enjoy some Taylor Shannon, the song "September."